Hello, my name is Thomas Exton, and today I'm doing my final portfolio for Dr. Hoover's EDU 333 class, which I just want to say the class is really helpful because I'm not the most technologically advanced person. So it actually provided me with some very helpful tools that I will use in my teaching career. So we're going to start off the ISTE standards. These standards were put in place essentially to help adapt to the digital age in today's classroom, especially with the ongoing pandemic, which has now become an endemic. We will more and more see online learning, possibly remote learning, when it comes to cancellation days, such as snow days. And now that all of this is out there, it will ultimately help the education of today's youth. Me included. I'm still, fairly young, still learning. So, the purpose of the standards is, like I said, just to help people, teachers, and students understand the effect and how to when it comes to online learning. And the standards are listed here. Next up, we have digital citizenship. What is digital citizenship? Digital citizenship is essentially, the same as your citizenship in your community. And in this sense, it's an online community. So it's about being kind, you have duties to fulfill, and things of that nature. And in order to be a good online citizen, that is helped a lot by not taking part in cyberbullying and all kinds of things that would make you a bad online citizen. Copyright law is also a part of digital citizenship. That means you can't take work that's not yours and not credit the original creator. There are some extents of this that you can without crediting the original creator, such as the public domain and everything we discussed over the period of this class. I used it when I was creating my projects to ensure that I was not stealing any work from anybody and that I was crediting where credit was due. And as you can see on my screen, there's a copyright. That is the copyright sign, all rights reserved. That means if you're going to use it, you must credit the original creator and so on. And the safety versus privacy I will discuss right after I describe the digital simile project, which we did. And I did mine on safety and privacy, which was essentially comparing two things and trying to figure out when one tops the other. So when does safety overtake privacy? If there's a threat to human life, does that then, the safety of your peers then take over your privacy and allow people such as principals, teachers to investigate into your private affairs to ensure the safety of students, especially in high schools today and colleges and so on. So, and as you can see here, this is my Adobe Spark presentation on the Safety versus Privacy Act. I'll just skim through real quick. They're both important. You want the right to your privacy. Privacy shouldn't be invaded, but sometimes it's necessary for safety, especially in the era of these mass shootings that are taking place. And not to get off topic, but there was one in Michigan recently, very recently, where the kid had alluded to his plan on social media. So that is a time where safety would overtake the Privacy Act, or the privacy of your personal belongings, in my opinion. But Adobe Spark was it was okay. It wasn't really my favorite thing, but it definitely helped, especially if you're doing something like this. You can pre-record a lesson if you were to be absent and you had a sub. You could pre-record something like this and leave it. And so it's just helpful for online learning, especially. And you can definitely think about this more rather than being on the spot in the classroom. So, I mean, there's definitely many uses for this, but like I said, nothing too groundbreaking or innovative, but it was helpful, and I'm sure I'll use it again at some point. So back to the presentation. Moving on, we have my infographic, which I will be showing in 1 second. Some of the current trends in technology involve Zoom, quiz games such as Kahoot, Quizlet, etc., and my infographic that was on virtual reality and augmented reality, which I believe is going to / can play a very important role in education going forward. And an infographic is essentially, you can make a quick brochure of sorts that show the information that would back up your point. So in this case, I did mine on how VR and AR can benefit students, and it would be helpful if I was trying to convince a school board to allow more of this in the classroom. It's just a nice long, some facts, 7 out of 10 teachers would like to use VR. The reasoning for multiple subjects as to how AR and VR can be helpful, and part of the teacher's wish list, which it says 67% would like their students to climb Mount Everest. Now, obviously, you can't take a field trip to Mount Everest and have all your students climb it, but VR would allow you to do that inside the classroom. So this is something I would use to try to convince a school board to allow in their respective school. So when it comes to infographics, they're pretty helpful. I use PictoChart to help create the infographic. But yeah, like I said, other ways you can use it range from convincing school boards to just giving out information on crime statistics, anything, any kind of statistics, especially, make for a great infographic and make for a wide use of the infographic. Screencast is up next. Screencast is what I'm currently using now. Provides the ability to screen record and voice over lessons, good for online lessons, digital age, and all that good stuff. I'm not going to go too much into it. It's essentially just recording your screen and voicing over exactly like I am now. So it's very basic, but also very helpful. Next up is the formative assessment tools. These are tools that you can use to assess your students. Things such as Flipgrid, EDpuzzle, and Poll Everywhere. I used Pear Deck. Pear Deck is one of the most helpful things I got from this. Because as it pulls up, I used it. You can use it in conjunction with Google Docs and Google Slides and a lot of other things, especially Google related. As you can see here, I did just a quick lesson on 9/11 and the aftermath, and when presenting this, students choose an option here, who was responsible for 9/11. It will give them multiple letter choices, and here I thought this one was neat. Drag the marker to the general area of one of the targets of Al-Qaeda. So you just, there'll be a little red flag, and you just drag it to where it places, and you get instant feedback, which is very helpful. And I really actually enjoyed this, and I don't really say that about much anything else here, but this is very innovative and very helpful. And I definitely plan on using it in the future. You can use these tools for anything, just, quick. Heck, if you wanted to say, where do you want to go on a field trip? And you want the answers to be anonymous or whatever, just pull this up real quick. Or you could also use Poll Everywhere as another very helpful one to just instant like that, instant answers and instant feedback. And as far as the rest of these go, I didn't get around to using EDpuzzle much, but Flipgrid is another one. It's pretty helpful. They're all similar in their own ways, but also different, and that helps when trying to use a variety of things to keep your students intrigued and interested, and especially with younger students that have lower attention spans. Moving on to quiz tools. Kahoot, obviously, Quizlet, and Google Forms you can use just like kind of like instant feedback stuff. And Kahoot is a very innovative one. My personal favorite. It's it can be very competitive, which is why I liked it. Now I know not everybody likes that, and there are pros and cons to it, but it was probably one of my more favorite things to do. Obviously, we've all used it, and I will definitely use it as a teacher because I enjoy it. So as you can see here, just questions, who's this pictured on the $1 bill. It allows you to put pictures with it also, so you can give some visual representation. You can time the questions, and you get certain points based on how fast you answer. And obviously, like I said, there's drawbacks too. If you're just not a fast reader, you're not going to be in the top ranks of the Kahoot game, which may be detrimental to said student. So there's definitely kinks to be worked out, but there's a lot of pros to Kahoot as well. And like I said, Quizlet's not so much a game as it is just a helpful tool to study and to use flashcards without having to go out and buy and write and cramp your hand and all that stuff. And Google Forms is the same way. It'll just, question, you answer, not real competitive. But there are many different types of quiz tools out there. And I'm running out of time, so I don't want to go into all of them. But yeah, there are definitely a lot more completely different from Kahoot, completely different from Quizlet, completely different from Google Forms. We played a couple of them in class. And, like race games, I forget what it was called, but we did one with race games where you had teams of rocket ships, and the first rocket ship to reach the end won. And that was another thing that would help engage students rather than just boring lectures. And you could also use these tools, as I said before, for just basic questions such as field trips or, what do we want for lunch if you're like, doing something out on a field trip, and just can pretty much be used to ask questions about anything. And it's very helpful. And that's pretty much it. A couple more things I want to touch on. The scavenger hunts we completed were pretty interesting. They helped they help get you familiar with terms, and they're just a fun way. It's not just a normal lecture. I'm not a lecture kind of person. I hate it when teachers just lecture, and I don't plan on being that kind of teacher. Now, that works to some extent for some people, but not everybody. So you got to change it up and, make sure everybody's involved and make sure everybody's there and everybody's wanting to learn and things like that. But that's pretty much it for me. Everything I learned in this class was very helpful and very innovative. Especially, I want to touch again, I really enjoyed Pear Deck. I really did. Pear Deck was definitely my favorite by a long shot. The infographic was also very interesting. I learned a lot of statistics about technology and education, which I did not know about when researching that. And overall, I just learned a lot from this class. So, thank you for your time, and thank you for a good semester, Dr. Hoover.